due respect, Tim Tello. He's one of the few people in the world who has successfully navigated tokenization at a regulatory level, and his work is helping to shape how blockchain integrates with real businesses and gaming ecosystems. Tim, great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, buddy. I'm glad to be here.
So, before we get into the deep topics, take us a bit back. Like, how did your journey in blockchain and tokenization begin?
Well, I've been in video games for nearly 15 years. And, as I was in the gaming industry, I worked a lot in the mobile sector. Um, and I was watching as free to play was kind of hated and then also as it became like massively adopted, like it became the model that people started using. Um, and out of just pure necessity, I was looking at like what was happening with like Fortnite coming out and the first free to play on console. Then I saw like European Union consolidating into the Euro and all these different things. Like, well, and then Roblox was a big key indicator as well. But about the same time, I was like, I think video games are going to consolidate their tokens into like one ecosystem. And I was trying to figure out how that would work. Um, and essentially, through my research, the only thing I could figure out that could possibly do it was blockchain. I was like, well, in order for this to work, to have these like economies of scale, as I call them, I was like, you need to be able to audit it. You need to be able to understand like where money's coming from, where it's going, who's owed what. Because if you come from the gaming industry, you know very well that there's revenue shares being given out to 10, 12 different people on every game. And if I bought a token in game A, but then I spent it in game B, there's no way that a server token could figure all these things out for me. And so the blockchain was really the only way to do that. And like Roblox, people would say, oh, well, Roblox. Well, in 2015, Roblox switched to a single currency model. They doubled their revenue every year since. So they proved economy of scales is the way of going about video games. Like we're getting to capitalism at a micro level in video games. But the problem with Roblox is it's confined to its engine. It cannot take the money from one game like ecosystem and move it to another, right? It can't create like a US dollar where you can go into the mall and that dollar is accepted in every store. It doesn't work that way. And they don't know where you bought the token. They just say you bought it from us. Instead, they can tell you where you used the token and they'll share a bit of revenue with just that person, nobody else. And so it doesn't really work for, double A's and triple A's. And so I like you said, I went and tried to figure that out. And in doing so, there was a lot of beating my head on the wall, trying to get the first to the first to the first. So we were the first person to ever get the SEC to agree to anything crypto. That led to both Genius Act and Clarity Act. I was told that my SEC no action letter is literally framed on the wall of the SEC because it's the first of its kind. Um, and then we had to get the first credit card deal. We had to get the first, chains into the app store. We had to get the first, like we had to do a lot of first. And being the first is exciting, but it's really hard because it costs a lot of money to figure out how to be the first of anything.
Very nice that you covered already the SEC thing. So, particularly of that process, what was the hardest part of it?
I mean, it was all hard. It took us a year and a half to get that no action letter. And so, like, when we first wanted to do this, right, we were like, okay, we can make an ERC20 token. We could put it into a game. It doesn't need to have any kind of speculative value. It doesn't have to be like a crypto that's sold on an exchange, but instead be able to be moved around from that gaming ecosystem. So if I'm a publisher with 10 games, and I put $100,000 in ad spend to push people to this game, I don't want to lose them when they're about to churn. What I should be able to do is just move them to another one of my titles. That's not how it works as of right now, because right now it's all controlled by like Apple and Google and Facebook, and their revenue model is continuously churn them out. So you have to spend more in ads, you have to get more in credit card processing. It's just a revolving door. It doesn't, and that's why Roblox has done so well. Their LTVs are well over a year retention with $300 LTVs. So it just makes more sense. So in order to get it in the App Store and to get credit cards to be able to sell it, we had to get the government to approve it. So a lot of lawyers, a lot of legal. And then like when I had all that done, I was like, this is a pretty good idea. I should probably patent this. So I wrote the patent for the use of blockchain in a video game.
So you're the only person that has this patent, and you could probably get to license it to every blockchain game out there, right?
Yeah, probably. I'm the only person that owns it. If you Google Timothy Tello with patent, you'll see that I own the patent for the use and systems of blockchain in a video game.
Crazy, man. Crazy. I think not many people are aware of that. They're just using it.
Yeah, I like to, I like to kind of have it there because, like, when people say, "Oh, I'm in blockchain games," I think even with you when I first met you, I was like, "Oh yeah, well, I invented that," and you're just like, "What do you mean?" I was like,
Yeah, I
"Because it's
remember. I remember. Can you maybe tell the audience, like, when was that when you started working on it?
15, I started building blockchain games for the first time, and in 2019 we became fully legal. So it was a 4-year stretch of like just going through every legal loop, every credit card processor, all the patent lawyers, like everybody to try to make this work right in time for the 2020 like NFT craze. And a lot of those things wouldn't have happened had I not done what I did. Like even stuff like layer twos came out of our work of what we did. A lot of people don't know, but like Janti Kunani was my first engineer. Janti Kunani, of course, is the creator of Polygon, and nothing taken away from him. He's a fantastic human, a genius. But like Polygon Matic was built as a necessity to POQ, and it was built as a rollout of Pocket Cores. One of the only things I probably shouldn't have let go of was that layer two, but we invented the first layer two, we invented the first ZK, all those things back in 2016 and 17.
Crazy. You were so early, man. You were so early. So, in you've went through all these regulations. So, what do you think are the biggest misconceptions that founders have about those regulations today?
Well, I think a lot of people, one, think that speculation matters. I think when I first talked to you guys, I was like, tell me about your token and what you're trying to do with the blockchain, and so I can understand. Because like, I don't just advise, and I want to be clear, I advise Lusa, and so I don't just advise anybody. I won't put my name on a lot of things, and so I want to understand. And I think a lot of people don't understand that you need some kind of economics of your token model. I think that's wrong. I think interoperability is correct. I think capitalism in a game is correct. But like, understand that video games, in truth, are an accounting system. They're cruel, right? It's prepaid entertainment. I give you $1. I'm buying entertainment of how much that dollar is worth for however long it takes me to use it, right? If
Yes.
I were to say, here's $1, you give me prepaid entertainment, I say, hey, I didn't use it all. Give me my money back. It doesn't work that way. Now, on top of that, because these tokens have speculation, the games are like, oh, we're not paying them back. The people are paying them back. Okay. Well, churn is a real thing. Churn is going to happen. The average, user is only going to stick around for, 7 days. So they're selling their tokens all the time. But if you're not, constantly creating a new loop of monetization and new people coming in, you've broken the system. And so, people don't understand in the Web3 world. So most of these people have never built a game in their life. It costs $32 to spend to find a paying player for a video game. $32. Now, if you're consistently churning out players who are selling their tokens, you got to like double or triple that number in order to keep your token value at some kind of par level. If you don't, that token's going to zero. And if your token goes to zero, your game is completely done. And they just keep hitting the same wall, asking what do we do wrong? What do we do wrong? You did everything wrong. You thought about the financial system completely obtuse.
I completely understand and see where like many people, like when the play to earn frenzy started in 2020, there were so many misconceptions, and I think people could have learned a lot. If you look at World of Warcraft, it had a whole economy that you can say the token was the gold, and people were like, there was so massive inflation within a year too. It was crazy. Like, it was similar to play to earn. People were just farming herbs and
But
stuff. And
the difference was that token had no par value outside of the game. Now there were secondary markets, right? Like people on eBay were farming and then they would sell it. Now that's fine. You can have secondary markets in the game, but the game developer was not paying for that gold, right? That was the big difference. And so, secondary markets I think are going to be the next wave of free to play monetization. I think we're going to be seeing assets that you can sell in an auction style to other players in order for them to grow faster or whatever they want to do. Um, you know, I'm glad you brought up World of Warcraft. I think World of Warcraft was the first Web3 game. I've said that a million times. But as these people were building these games, they just don't understand. Like that's not how economies of scale work, right? Do you think the U.S. dollar that they just let everyone just go and sell the U.S. dollar and not buy more? Like that would bankrupt the U.S. dollar. That's not how it works. You have to have it locked up. You have to create bonds against it, And so I was very much before it was stable tokens. My entire model was like I said, like influenced both Genius Act and Clarity Act is around stable models, stable token models. And so like all those things have now been created into what we know as full crypto legislation based on that no action letter.
yes. So as you're so long in the space, so where do you see like the token frameworks heading in the next few years?
Well, again, stable token models. I think we're going to see game tokens act as game tokens, but on chain. So the way I look at it is like EA Sports, right, is a good example of this. They have a massive churn every year when the Super Bowl happens because their biggest game is Madden football. But when the Super Bowl is over, they lose that kind of reality around what's going on the day to day and real life that people want to go and play it on the weekends and during the day to have their own version of their own game reality, right? And so when the season ends, the fall off's like 50 to 70%. It's a huge fall off, and they know it's coming. But they also own other sports, licenses that they could do. Like I think they lost FIFA, but they used to own FIFA. They own the NCAA football. They own a basketball license. They have a baseball license. And these seasons hit one after the other. And some of them even sit on top of each other, right? Like baseball season, we have October and is when baseball ends, but then you have football starting in August. So they're sitting on top of each other for a couple of months. If you were to give somebody 2 to 1 or give somebody, even the ability just to go and play baseball or Madden at the same time with the same token, their churn rate would reduce by 50 to 70% overnight. That's why Roblox is so successful. They have thousands and thousands of games that use the same token. It's an economy. Like that's what it is.
Exactly. Yeah. Also, I think in Roblox, or they do it pretty well. Yeah, I think it's actually the most played game at the moment.
It's worth more than
Um,
every other AAA company combined.
it's so crazy, and it came out of nowhere, and there's so much UGC around that now. And
Well, they have to focus on UGC though, right? Like because like AA and AAA publishers, right, they have revenue shares. It doesn't work for their model. And so when you think about that, like how do we have that same thing? You could do the same thing. You could use Unity, you could use Unreal, you could use Lusa, you could use whatever engine you want. If you utilize the blockchain as the connective tissue between those games, and you create one token for your entire economics, you're creating, think of like publishers like small countries. Countries issue a denomination, the denomination then goes out and it creates capitalism. That's exactly what we're being promised like Grand Theft Auto 6. And that's why they keep delaying it because they're trying to figure out the finite pieces of the capitalistic approach of how they're going to create a single token economy.
I'm very excited to see how this will play out.
It's going to be
Um,
big. Video games are the largest entertainment sector in the world, and the reason is because we have micropayments at every turn, right? You go watch a movie, you pay for the movie, you might buy the DVD, but that's it. You've already paid for it. You own it now, right? You buy the music for your phone, you pay 99 cents from iTunes, You own it. There's no added payments there, right? There's no version of capitalism that can be extended. But in a video game, it's a false sense of reality. It's like what you could buy outside, inside, right? And you could just go forever. And so when we think of it that from that point of view, and if we think of every publisher like a miniature country, their goal is to create as many things for you to buy as possible with a single token, right? When we created the Visa credit card, right, a gift card accepted everywhere. When we created that in the 80s, the GDP of America nearly tripled.
Crazy, man.
It's the same
Crazy.
thing. It's the same thing.
Yeah. So we've spoken now a lot about like token blockchain. When it comes to like to deepen this into gaming, like what would a sustainable design for that look, and there is how important is real utility compared to the hype? What do you think?
I mean, I hate the word utility because like I think like that was used so much in the crypto space like early on like and I remember like I used to like get on stage and I used to say like I'd be as famous as like Vitalik and those guys had it not been that I disagreed with everybody about how they were building the games in Web3, right? They stopped asking me to speak on stage because I would just get on stage like you're all wrong. You have no idea what you're talking about. Because like, and I remember one time, someone's like, "Oh, my NFT has really good utility." I was like, "Well, okay, what's the utility? Explain it to me." And then it had no utility. I was like, "That." I was like, a picture in my house has utility too. It sits in a frame on the wall. Utility. It holds up the wall right there. I mean, the idea of utility is so dumb. Let's think of it from the point of view of like, what is a token and what does it do? It creates connective tissues between games. It creates the ability to monetize. It creates the ability to have secondary markets. Those are utilities, right? What does a dollar do? It connects store to people, right? And it creates a multiplier effect because you have more stores buying and selling within that same dollar, and it keeps growing. That's the supply and demand is the basics of economics. We have to supply a single currency, and you have to give them items to buy with it. And if they demand that item, keep making more of it. But the beautiful thing about a video game is it's digital. You can make as many as you want.
Yeah, it's like I see it the same way. Everyone utility token. I think it was more people were saying this because of I don't want to be a security, but a token, like in most games a token didn't even make sense, so it would have
Still
been
doesn't.
better to just implement stable coins and NFTs basically. um,
100%. And I said that, and people used to get really, really mad at me. Really mad. Like I was like, that doesn't make sense. Your game's not gonna work. It's gonna fail. It's like think about it like this. Like a game, right? Any game that you play has X amount of tokens for X amount of dollars, right? A dollar buys 100 tokens. $5 buys 500 tokens plus 100 credit extra, right? If you add in a token that changes in value, right? Speculative, it breaks the weight of the game. That entire game is written on an algorithm to control that economy, to control the time, to control the play. So if you go and download a game from Unity and then you add in blockchain to it and say, "Hey, I built a game." Well, no, you didn't. You downloaded a game. Just like I didn't build a website because I went and got a theme. Like that's not building a game. But okay. You did this. What you didn't go in and account for the entire time is the entire ecosystem of that game is designed for a structure that's like this, and you added this. It's going to break. You can't do that.
I agree, yeah. um, Fun fact, not many people see it in that way, and I feel you when you say everyone wanted you to stop speaking on stage about it because no one wants to hear the truth basically. um,
But they want to hear that their pipe dream is still dreaming, right? Like, oh, I put 10 grand into this thing and it made me $1 million. That's fantastic. Good for you. It's not going to do it again. Like that million you got out before everybody else did. Good for you. But like all those other people, you essentially just stole money from them because they're just left holding the bag.
so now we spoke about blockchain, gaming. So one topic we didn't have about, I call it the trifecta, which we're building on. How do you see AI changing how players interact with their digital ownership?
Well, farming is going to be crazy in the future. A lot of these MMOs and these other style games, like World of Warcraft, that I believe have the most utility to have Web3 in them because they're essentially Web3 titles now. You can look at AI to create, you can to basically play for you when you're not playing. So we're gonna have to figure those things out. AI is going to make the level of gameplay higher. I've seen people using AI to basically train esports competitors in real time that you can use you can use mapping and you can use layover screens to basically key match whatever you want. So imagine you're playing Mortal Kombat. You can teach the computer watching the screen what moves equal what trigger on the remote. I can then feed all of my competitors in esports into this computer and sit there and basically break down a playbook of how they play a game keystroke by keystroke. I can then recreate them in the aggregate as a player that the AI can compete with. So then, now gameplay level is skyrocketing. You could see AI like what you guys are doing, where it's starting to create 3D worlds in real time as it's building, as you're playing. Video game engines are going to come out faster. We're going to have a reduction in artists. We haven't quite got there yet because the 3D modeling of AI is not as good as it is like 2D modeling, but like as 3D modeling gets better, sky's the limit. There's gonna be a new game every other day, basically. And it's gonna be wild to watch. Like Roblox is a real thing, and Ready Player One is 100% accessible with AI. That is a real dream that could be achieved because of AI. User generated content won't be nearly a thing because you're going to build something that's great and China's going to replicate it 10 times, 100 times with AI, and they're going to push it into every major distribution platform instantly. So you're going to have to be running at 100 miles an hour even to keep up. So where's the real money lie? It's not in the AI, it's probably in play and understanding how secondary markets work and knowing what game's going to hit next and getting in front of that and really trying to be competitive that way. So it's going to change the entire landscape of what we know and how we play video games and how we see video games. Even down to like small stuff. Like they're already using AI to correct like the best world records on like different games. Like they're teaching the computer, and then the computer then runs tests at like a million operations per second, where it's trying every possible conceivable path. They're giving it a few corrections. Okay, you hit the wall here, don't do that, don't do this. Here's a bonus for doing this. They're playing Final Fantasy VII and beating speed trials. They're playing Pokemon and beating speed trials that have been held for 10 years. And this game is these computers are figuring it out in seconds. It's a different world that we're going into.
Yes, and I think a few days ago I've seen on X Elon Musk asking T1 to play, I don't know, in 6 to 12 months against Grok in League of Legends on a 5v5. Um,
See who's a better League of Legends player.
yeah,
Uh, I think he really likes Grok, but as someone who's tried about them all, but Grok's probably the worst, to be honest with you. I think Grok's going to lose that. I think we could create even so then you jump into like perpetual markets, right? We could take a bet on if Grok's going to beat them in League of Legends, and
let's
that's
see.
wild too.
Let's see what happens. I mean, when he started with XAI, I think he was 2, 3, 4 years behind OpenAI or other AI companies, but he is catching up fast, I would say.
I think we're running into a different bubble that scares me, to be honest with you, buddy. The amount of data storage that we're gonna need for the like think about this. Like in the last 3 years since OpenAI has gone live, did you know that like over 80% of all of GitHub is now AI created? So
Yes,
in 3 years, it's nearly doubled all of GitHub by itself.
I
So
know. And And the bubble that's created. I was just seeing today the prices of random
Storage.
access memory or uh, SSDs. They doubled or tripled because we need the NAND chips for AI and we need them for storage, fast access storage. So
It doesn't make sense. It's not good. I I I think the world is coming to a point where we're trying to do so much that we don't have the ability to do. Because like not only is AI consuming data, AI is creating data at a rate that it'd be like imagine the world, right, had a growth in population, right? We're at about 8 billion people in the world. Now imagine within 3 years we're at 16 billion, right? That's basically what just happened. Now imagine 16 billion is going to double, if not triple, because of how many more AIs and how many more data consumption's happening and how much more. So now we're at like, let's call it 60 billion people within 6 years, within 10 years. What happens? Well, we go into famine. We go into absolute anarchy. That's happening in real time, and people don't realize it. Like the biggest problem that we will have to solve in this generation isn't what political group is doing what, isn't what we're going to eat today. It has nothing to do with the US dollar. It has to do with where the hell are we going to store the 4K image that my wife took on her camera at Disneyland? That's going to be a big, big problem.
let's see how this develops if we follow Moore's law, have like faster CPUs, GPUs,
Does
more
it matter
storage.
if we have faster computations? Does that change the fact that like think about it like this? Like look at the elevation of just like a picture over the last 5 years, right? We went from like 480p, then we had like 720p, then it was like 4K, 8K. Like it's like not even close to the same thing anymore. Like the weight of a video game. Look at the weight of the video game, right? An Xbox game maybe weighs a gigabyte. Today they're like 300 gigabytes, 400 gigabytes. You're not going to be able to play Xbox. So what we're going to end up happening is kind of like what you're saying. You can't buy a SSD. They're going to get outpriced. We're going to be enslaved by Amazon, by Facebook, by Oracle, by Azure, like all these people who own the servers and own the storage. It's going to be astronomical, the cost that it's going to take you to save a Microsoft Word document on your computer.
Could probably be, yes. Let's see where the future is
That's wild.
heading us to.
That's going to be wild.
So, yeah. Now, with everything you said, one thing that we're building with Lusa is an AI powered gaming ecosystem where players and developers can create, fund, and own parts or the whole games they love. So, from your perspective, does this direction fit where the whole industry is heading?
Well, I mean, yeah, like everything is going to user generated content, right? Roblox proved that. AI is going to help make video games faster. I believe in a world where we're going to see AAA developments by 3 to 4 people teams, maybe even less than that, like maybe 1 to 2 people on a team. That and especially as soon as 3D rendering in AI gets really, really strong, I mean, it's off to the races. Who's going to be first to build the next cool game? How quickly can AI adapt to, different theses in video games, different mechanics, and different, theoretics? Like, because people don't really know that, but a video game has a lot of physics in it, right? Like, you have to understand physics to understand how, Roller Coaster Tycoon works, or how like these games, if you're running, how the guy doesn't actually just tip over in the game. There's a lot of physics involved. So as soon as like AI gets involved in that, man, the world is going to be a different place. Ready Player One could very well exist.
I think so too. What excites you most about like those things, and what scares you the most?
Well, the data storage scares me, right? I also think, there's gonna have to be some kind of blockchain into it, like patented or licensing. Like, how many people are gonna rip off your idea? Like, think about it like this. Like, if I see an app I like, I can literally go to, Grok or ChatGPT and say, hey, make me a copy of this app, copy this website. It'll give me all the code for it. It'll design the whole thing. That's gonna be a hard thing, I think, is we're gonna get into like trademark infringement. We're getting into licensing infringement. I think people are going to start putting things into games that they're not supposed to be putting into games because it'll be happening so quickly. How, like YouTube right now, like you play a song on YouTube, right? They're having to go through and find, like, or at least back in the day, they had to go through and find, and they would have to take all the revenue and give it to the music artist or the licensee. Like, we're not there yet in video games, but it's coming. It's coming very quickly. And, I think there's going to be a lot of people who haven't quite figured that out, but there's going to be a lot of people who are going to have entrepreneurial spirits who are going to figure that out. And so I think the blockchain is going to be involved in that, right? We can do license rights on the blockchain. I think your software is going to help find where people are adding in, pieces that they're not supposed to be adding in. Like, I don't own the rights to, to Mario. I can't just put him in a video game because I want to, right? But Nintendo's going to end up having to fight these battles, and someone's going to have to stand in front of it. And so I think those things are kind of cool because blockchain's going to be integrated there. I think these token economies are going to be a big part of it, especially with UGC, right? Like, I think companies like yours are going to buck the status quo against the Robloxes of the world, against the Epics and their UGC platforms. You're not going to need these platforms that are walled gardens. You're going to have the whole open world at your as your oyster, and you're going to have whatever engine you want, whatever game development style you want. You're not going to be stuck playing Legos for the rest of your life, which I can't play with a cartoon character, and I can't play with a Lego character. So both Roblox and Fortnite UGCs out for me. I think all those things are coming to real time. And it's exciting to watch. It's scary to think about, but I'm excited. I think that one thing I'm most excited for is to see the first kid make $1 billion as a single entrepreneur. I think video games will create the first billionaire from a game that one person creates a company. I've always watched, like, as VCs talk about, like, oh, but who's going to be the billionaire that as a one person company with AI? It's not going to be an AI company. It's not going to be some random company that the AI company made. It's going to be a video game that just hits like Fortnite did, and it's going to be some kid playing around with Lusa IO, and boom, he makes $1 billion title by himself.
This is what I believe as well. So our vision and goal with this company is actually that a single person can come to our platform without any game design knowledge, just be creative and keep prompting to create a full AAA game. It may not happen in a year, not in two, not in three, but in five, in 10. I don't know. Let's see how fast AI develops.
It's
And
crazy to think about. So
yes,
crazy.
it's crazy. And exactly what you said. If you look at the youngest generation, they don't want to work. They want to be gamers, YouTubers, TikTokers, streamers. They
Don't
want
get
to
me started
be,
on those kids. My
yes,
nephew literally just told me, he's like, why do I need to go to college?
yes,
What are you going to do? He's like, well, why do I have to grow up? Because you're almost 18 years old. You have to do something. You have to be responsible. He's like, nah, that's cap. Like, oh, I'm going to kill you. You got to do something.
yeah. Okay, nice, man. So, from everything you've seen in your journey, from gaming to blockchain, you've probably met a plenty of founders. So, what differentiates founders who succeed from those who don't?
That's a tough question. I think the founders that I like the most, that I usually dig into, have this, like, this untold grit about them. Um, Even though life is hard, it's never too hard. They could just kind of beat through the walls. Every obstacle, there's like, that hurt, that hurt, that hurt. It's tough. Life's hard, but we're still alive. We woke up this morning. God bless it. I'm gonna fight. Today I'm gonna punch this guy in the throat and I'm gonna keep moving. I think those guys succeed. I think people that solve a problem that was their problem, right? Like, why does ethics exist? Like my company, it's because I needed it when I was building at POQ. All those issues I talked about, how hard it was to do this, how hard it was to do that, how hard it was to get credit card processing. I was like, why doesn't someone just build a company for that? And I couldn't build it at the time because I was building that. And then I was just like, when I stopped building, I was just like, you know what? They still need this. Like, I still could use it. I always like to say your best customer was you 5 years ago. And if you could build for that guy, I think you're going to be very successful because you're going to sell it just how you wanted it. So I look for people that have those kind of ideas. And then, the I I don't think it's so much of a personality, but I think it's more of like a just the mindset that rules don't matter. At the end of the day, rules don't matter. And so like, you could be the smartest guy in the world, but that doesn't help you in solving the problems that are in front of you because you're going to follow the rules to solve those problems. Good entrepreneur lives in the gray area. There are no rules. We until we cross that illegal line, we don't do that, but we stay very close to it. We're pushing the envelope of what's possible, what's allowed. We're like for me, like I'm calling my PSPs and my banks like, hey, what about this? Oh, you don't like games of skill? What if I sold them a stable token and then I did this and I kind of wrapped it all up and you never saw it? Does that count? Does that matter? You got to be gritty. You got to be willing to get it down on the ground and dig through the mud. And you got to be solving a problem that you think that you can solve because you had that problem.
Yes, definitely. What I most felt about what you said was like, I have a problem. I run with my head through a wall. I wake up every morning, fight the next thing, fight the next thing. Being relentless, I think, is one of the points that a founder must have. And yeah, so from all your experience, what's one lesson you wish you knew earlier?
Always be raising. Like I think like there's that old saying, always be closing. When you're in sales, if you're a founder, always be raising. And if someone offers you money, I don't care how big your pride is, you figure out a way to take that money. You don't know what tomorrow is. You have no idea what the problems are coming around the corner. You know, my first thing at POQ is we got offered a lot of money, and my co-founder said, "Why would you sell a ticket to a rocket ship?" Well, now I know the answer is to build a bigger fucking rocket ship. Because at the end of the day, you never know what's going to happen. We didn't know that the crypto, was going to go into the first winter ever. Then how would we have known that, right? All of our deals went out of the business. We were making $8 million. We were like chilling. We're like, oh, this is great. Like we have enough money to go for 2 years just off of sales. Like we're good. And it all went away very quickly. And then by the time we wanted to raise, the winter was here, money had dried up, like no one wanted to invest and and we were also we were too big to get an investment because we didn't take the steps, right? You need to go pre-seed because the pre-seed investor and introduces you to the seed investor. The seed investor introduces you to the A investors. And if you don't follow that pipeline, you don't get those introductions. If you don't get those introductions, chances of VC are actually going to talk to you is very low. So, it's designed the way it's designed. It kind of sucks, but it is what it is. And then the second thing I would think is VCs want to be thought of as the smartest guy in the room, but they're usually not. I think if I knew that before, that'd be great. A lot of times I would just talk to them at a high level, like, this is what we're doing. It's great. Like, oh yeah, that's awesome. That sounds so cool. High level scientific with, and I would just start spitting at them with all this stuff. And I realized quickly they had no idea what the fuck I was talking about, right? They had no idea. So you got to talk to a VC, and because they wanted to be seen as smart, right? One people don't know is that guy you're talking to does not make the decision on investing. He's going to take that and he's going to go and present it in front of all the other people from his company at an IC meeting, right? And at the investment committee, they're going to decide. If he can't replicate what you said, he's not going to say it. And so instead, he's just going to wait 2 or 3 weeks, either stop talking to you, or he's going to tell you politely, "Oh no, we couldn't get around our heads around it. We couldn't find conviction." He's going to give you some blow off. You got to tell him like he's a third grader. You're telling a good night story to. This is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. Look how great this is. You gotta spell it out. And I wish I had known that because early on I was just like, here it is. Look, this is the greatest thing ever. Don't you think? It's like, oh yeah, that's awesome, man. It's right up our alley. Oh yeah, we couldn't find conviction. No, he couldn't retell the story you told. So you got to make it very simple for them to tell him.
This remembered me of the movie Margin Call, where the big boss sits at the table and tells the guy, explain the problem to me like you're explaining it to a 4-year-old child. I'm not here because I'm intelligent. I'm here because I chose the right people to build this company for me. So I feel that completely. All right, so let's end with a quick rapid fire, short answers.
Short answers. All right.
Most underrated crypto project right now.
Sui.
One prediction for 2026.
Stable tokens are going to lead the path to full adoption.
Discord or Telegram?
Telegram.
AI, overhyped or still early?
Both.
What's one book or idea that shaped you?
The Secret. That was probably the start of all of this. The Secret.
Awesome, mine too. Nice. Awesome. Tim, this was an incredible session, I would say. Thank you for sharing your deep insights and your experience with us. Where can people follow your work?
I'm on LinkedIn. You can see me on Instagram, see me on Twitter. I don't really post much on Twitter, but you could try. I'm pretty nice. Reach out. I'm easy.
Awesome. Thanks again for joining, and thanks to everyone listening. This is just the beginning. See you in the next episode.